Nobody can see. But everybody at home just know he looks really cool right now. Oh man, so cool. Whoa, wow, so cool. Oh my god. Welcome to Push to Shout, episode 88. This is a show about video games, and I gotta tell you, we played some. Skippy, do you want to start?
Sure, why not? I played a new video game. I'll go ahead and start right off with the big guns. Actually, I won't. I played more of The Crew. I was pretty down on The Crew last week. I'm less down on it now. I played a little more of it. It has a couple redeeming factors. One is the world is truly massive and pretty varied and not so much interesting, but it's fun to drive long distances and like go from, the south to the desert to the mountains to the snowy mountains and to the
An
coast.
open world kind of road tripping game would actually be kind of cool. Like if you could go across the country and maybe into like South America and like just plow a really bulldozer through the rainforest or something like that.
Yeah. It is impressively big, and it does have variety. I mean, maybe not as far as like roads go and stuff. It's you start to realize it's all the same essentially, but you do go through different locales and stuff, and you can go very long distances and slowly make your way around. I mean, it takes a good hour or more to go across the country, which is pretty impressive. And where that game shines is in races or challenges or whatever that take you across the country on purpose. But basically all the races and stuff are short. They're like 10 minutes or less. And so it doesn't take advantage of what it has at all because you're just racing these very short distances, sometimes even just circuits, like little laps. And that sucks. And there's only one thing where you get the option to actually go long distances, which is I don't know, there's like these factions that has something to do with multiplayer, but you can do these faction races, but they don't give you any XP and they don't keep track of your progress. Like, it'd be cool if you had like an hour-long time trial race or something like that, and it actually ranks you against people, but it doesn't. It just gives you some money and sends you on your way. So it just feels kind of pointless, and I don't know. That's really disappointing because that game, yeah, if it was a road tripping simulator, that game would be really cool. A really high-speed, stupid, fun road trip is fun in that game, and you get to do that a couple times, but it's not the focus of it when it really should be. But anyway, the reason I was playing The Crew to begin with is because Forza Horizon 3 was coming out on the PC the first time Forza coming to the...
It's just on Windows Store, right?
It is, so yeah.
Okay. Because I got more to talk about in that department later.
Well, yeah.
The big news.
I've got some things to say about that. So this is one of their flagship Xbox Play Anywhere games titles, where you buy it on one platform, you get it for both platforms, your saves cross over. And so things like Halo and Forza and Gears of War are coming to the PC.
Yeah.
And they're fully featured.
Hell
yeah.
Like
you're getting some like watered down version or anything like that.
For Halo 5, I don't think it's the full game.
No, it's just Forge.
But it's Forge and multiplayer for Forge. Yeah. So custom game modes, which are the best anyway.
But I mean, the standard they seem to be setting is that every game that's going to come out is going to be on both. First party, at least. So like,
that's great. The next Halo I love that.
Will be. I love it too. Here's the problem.
Always problems with you. You bitch and you moan. You never get anywhere. What fucking...
Forza
you disgust
Horizon
me.
3 was clearly not optimized for the PC. It struggles. And it struggles in really mind-blowingly... So, my NVIDIA, when I updated my drivers, recommended some settings for Forza that were basically all ultra, all the highest settings. I've got a 1070 now, so I'm up there with the elite. And
1337.
Yes,
man.
And so I launched the game, and it's running, I would say, okay. I would kind of what I would expect, putting all the settings to high. It's like it's not going to maintain a 60 frame rate. It was kind of jumping around a little bit between 30 and 60. So I was like, well, I'll lower some settings and it should be fine. I can maintain a really steady 60 frames. I lowered them down to medium. It seems like nothing changes except the game looks significantly worse. I lowered them all the way down. Every setting I possibly can, I put it on the lowest setting, and the frame rate improved by about 10 frames per second. So it
Wow.
went from jumping from like 30 to 60 to like 40 to 70. Um,
Impressive
and
gains.
it looked awful. Like it's not like these settings aren't doing much when you change them. You can turn off shadows completely, and it looks like you've turned off shadows completely. But the frame rate doesn't change. It's mind blowing. It's so badly optimized. I hope that it's just like a switch that needs to be flipped somewhere that they forgot to flip, or something really easy to patch. But I don't know. And so now I'm back to ultra, because why wouldn't I be on all the highest settings if I'm only going to get a 10 frame difference? And I just capped it at 30, which is not how I want to play that
Does
game.
it
But
usually dip below that much though?
not below 30, no.
Okay.
It'll struggle momentarily a couple times, which it has like hitching issues a little bit, which are frustrating.
In that case,
But
it
for the
just seems
most
like
part,
they really did not even know how or try to figure out how to get it to 60.
I don't know, because it seems like they spent a lot of time. Like the settings are pretty in depth. There's a lot of settings, and you can change the way the game looks significantly, but from low to high, and it doesn't do anything. So I don't know what's going on behind the scenes there, but
You
I'm
see, the
hoping it'll be
problem is that
patched.
you need the cloud computing GPU power of the
Yeah.
Xbox One, which will send it out to the cloud and then it'll pump back the graphics.
Yeah.
It's too complicated. I shouldn't explain it to you. You wouldn't get it.
But that's not the only issue I'm having. So I had to download it off the Windows Store because it's the only place it's available, which means you don't get your friends' Steam list, which would be really nice to have in a racing game that pulls in your friends' lists as other drivers in the world, even if they don't even have the game. It has their little drivatar or whatever, where it acts like they're a person, but it's just an AI with your friend's name. But then if your friend does have the game and they buy their cars and put custom paint jobs on their cars and stuff, then their drivatar will show up in the game and it'll drive like they do ostensibly. But yeah, that would be nice to have an existing friends
Wait,
list, because I had to create a Microsoft account to play this game. I have one already, but I don't know the information for it,
wait,
and
so
it's really old.
the AI will start to drive like you?
Apparently, yeah, they've been doing this for a few years now, where it tries to keep track of what kind of driver you are. Like, do you run people off the road a lot? Are you super
Oh,
aggressive?
okay.
And then the drivatar. So like if someone's drivatar is a complete asshole, that means that they drive like an asshole. Apparently, I don't know how well it actually works, but it's a cool idea. I like it.
It probably keeps it active without like just being generic. Because you can
Yeah,
probably start
and
jumping to conclusions about people. They're like actual users
it just makes it
based on
fun
how
because
the AI is driving.
yeah, you can put personality to AI, and whether it's true or not, it's fun because it's like, oh,
It's a
that guy's an
story,
asshole.
yeah.
Yeah, and so it actually that adds a lot to the game, especially like considering like other Forzas have done that. I don't know if the other Horizons have. I assume they have, but you just see them driving around in the world, and you can like pick them up, and like if you honk your horn at someone, they'll join your convoy and they'll drive alongside you and stuff, and then you can race against them to your objective, or you can enter races with them in there and stuff like that. And so it adds a lot of personality to a single player. It's not a single player game completely, but the main open world part is. Although I guess you can do co-op, but whatever. But yeah, I had to create a Microsoft account, which was a pain in the ass because Microsoft has literally the worst account management system in the world. I mean, it's
Yes.
unbelievably bad.
I don't know how it just seems to screw up entirely sometimes.
It's
Where
amazing.
it was at its worst with Games for Windows Live, where I would definitely be putting in my correct username and password, and it would not work, and it
Yeah.
was just completely baffling. And I don't.
and
It
they
just
have so
turned me
many-
off to any kind of Microsoft managed cloud account system. I just
Yeah.
don't trust them to not wall me off for
And
no
it's been
reason other
bad
than their own
forever.
incompetence.
I remember creating an account for the Xbox 360 and having the exact same issues. They haven't improved it at all. Part of their problem is like they have all these different services that you can create accounts for, like Outlook and all that stuff, and then they try to sync them, but at the same time keep them separate, and so everything just gets really muddled and confusing. But anyway, I created a new account and I had to log in using that new account. And then next time I turned on my computer, it made me log into that account before I could even access my desktop. And
Yep. That's your
like,
Microsoft account now. There you go.
Yeah, no, I went in the settings and turned it off. But another thing you have to do constantly when setting up your Microsoft account is make sure that it's not trying to steal all of your information and turn on all these features that you don't want.
Predictive text. Cortana, all she has to do is log everything you type, which is actually real. It's what it does. It says that this gives Microsoft servers access to all keyboard input, is what it says.
Great.
So that's cool.
Yeah, it's wonderful. When you install Windows 10, I know there's one particular screen where it acts like you have to. I think it acts like you have to sign up to a Microsoft Outlook account or something like that. Like you have to have a Microsoft account before continuing. But you don't actually. There's small text underneath that says, it says,
it's like a skip.
I don't have an account. And then you click, I don't have an account, and it tries to register you. But then if you skip all the registration stuff and you go to the very end, it says you can skip the step. But it's tiny, and you can't see it unless you're really looking for it. They do the same thing setting up this account. Is they try to sign you up with something else, and you have to look for the little thing that says you can skip it. It drives me insane. And then I get into the fucking game. It's the loudest game I've ever fucking played in my life. You know, it forces you to watch the introductions, which is a very common thing that frustrates the shit out of me. They're super loud, like always. And then the crazy part is that you get into the game. First of all, it's a Microsoft app, and it acts like an app.
Oh, I love apps.
It's like a Microsoft app. It's an official thing that you downloaded from Microsoft, and it's a Microsoft app. It doesn't show up in the volume mixer.
Oh, Jesus.
So you can't control
Why?
using the volume. I don't know. I've never encountered a game that doesn't show up in the volume mixer. So I had to.
But they've always been like stupid Unity games or something. Not an official Microsoft game. So that's ridiculous.
You have to go into the audio settings and you have to lower the volume manually, which you're gonna want to do because it's the loudest fucking game in the world. And the default's at 10, and you can lower it down to 1. First of all, it has like 6 different bars for like music and radio DJ and voiceover and car and tire and all. Like everything has its own volume bar, very in depth. None of those can be set to 0 as far as I know, which is weird. It's like I want to set the music to 0, but it won't let me. I have to like switch the radio off in game to not listen to the fucking music. Anyway, I lower everything to like 7, which is what I do with a lot of games when I first get them. Is like lower it down to 7. I don't notice any difference. I lower it down to 5. Don't notice any difference. I lower it down all the way to 1. It's literally probably 75% or 80% of the full volume at 1 out of 10. And you can't go lower. And there's no volume mixer. So if that's still too loud for you, deal with it. That's it. It blows my mind. Like, what the fuck? Why? And OBS doesn't recognize it. I don't know why.
Oh, of course. Gotta stream through official Microsoft Xbox stream platform,
which they don't
thing.
have.
I thought they did.
Don't know. I don't think so.
Who was that? Oh, Blizzard.
Sure.
Blizzard just implemented that.
Yeah, Blizzard has that, and Nvidia has all sorts of stuff. There's a way to stream it if you want to stream it, but
that's ridiculous. The
game is full of these issues.
Is Halo that way too?
30 minutes after.
Did you actually get to play Forge?
No, I never even downloaded Forge.
I'm gonna play that.
I probably will. I mean, it seems really goofy and fun. The amount of things you can do with Forge is actually kind of incredible.
Yeah, and having that on PC, with multiplayer, that's cool. But I hope it's in the volume mixer.
The last time I played a Halo game was Halo Reach, which had Forge. Like I think they've had Forge since 3.
That's the last one I played for any significant amount of time, either.
Yeah. And Forge was cool at the time. It was like make your own game modes, and you can even mess with the maps and stuff. But it was what you would expect out of a multiplayer level editor, like the Far Cry style kind of editor that we've had before. Now I see what people have made in Forge, and it's like you can make whatever you fucking want. It's crazy. Yeah, that stuff's really impressive. So I'm looking forward to trying that stuff out. It's really cool that they released that for PC. It was a great idea. I don't know what they get out of releasing it for free other than like, hey, I hate Microsoft less now for trying to steal all my information because now I can play Forge for free, I guess.
Maybe it's a test run for, I don't know, Halo's on PC just to gauge interest.
Maybe.
I am very shocked though that they didn't make a bigger deal about this. You'd think that this would be a big deal. Actually playing
if I were them, I'd make
Halo
a big deal out
5
of it,
on
and I would
PC.
charge $20 for it.
Absolutely. Yeah. But they made it a non-event. I didn't know about it. Immediately I'm interested,
I'd heard about
but
it,
nobody
only
told me.
through word of mouth. Yeah.
Until somebody told me. And then
And of course, part of it is that they're trying to make the Microsoft Store a thing, which it won't be. I don't know. So yeah, Forza, but as a game, so actually talking about the game itself rather than all of its technical issues, once you get past those tech issues, the game is very, very good. It's, God, I don't know. It's what you want from an open world driving game. You can do a bunch of different stuff. You can drive around and have fun, and it's laid back, and it's not trying to push you to constantly do things. It's like there's even a setting in that game when you're driving through the open world. You can ask your GPS, "What should I do?" and it'll choose like a random activity nearby, and you can just drive to it and do it.
That'd be a good feature in GTA.
It'd be honestly a good feature in almost any open world game, because it's just like sometimes you're just like lost and you're like, well, fuck, I just want something to do, and having the computer just tell you here's what you can do is a great idea. And I noticed for the first time, I knew the Xbox One had these this feature, but it never came up in any games. The triggers have rumbles in them, and in Forza, when you're like braking, if your tires lock up, it starts rumbling, and you can feel when the tires lock up, and that feels really, really good and is super helpful.
You're using an Xbox One controller?
Yeah. My dad, when he got the Oculus for his racing setup, he got an Xbox One controller with it, and I took it because he doesn't need it. And yeah, the rumbles are really, 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 they're handy and feel really good. I was like super impressed. I wish more games used them because it makes a lot of sense.
How does it stack up to the PS4 controller?
I haven't used the PS4 controller a whole lot. I still prefer the layout of the Xbox controller. I've never liked the two thumbsticks down below. It's always felt unnatural to me. But I like the PS4 controller just fine. I would say I like the Xbox One controller more just because it's a familiar feel to what I'm used to personally. And the trigger rumble stuff is really good if you're playing Forza, but that's the only game I know of that uses it. I like that the way the thumbsticks have like a little concave thing in them, and they feel good. I don't know. It's a decent controller. I like it. And I needed one because my 361 was falling apart, probably like a decade old almost.
Yeah, mine is barely alive anymore.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I like the Xbox, and I know it has official support where the PS4 controller doesn't always.
Yeah, that's true.
Have support. And Microsoft has seemed to finally, well, I say finally, I guess they have for a while, embraced the fact that their controller is the controller for PC, and they actually like kind of support it.
And Dark Souls 3
controller or whatever,
has only Xbox One button prompts.
Yeah, most games do.
Yeah. Wait, really?
I don't know
which new ones? I don't think I've played enough new games.
I don't think I've ever seen a PC game have PS4 prompts. At most, it puts a color that is the Xbox button colors without saying A, B, X, Y. But most of the time, it just shows an Xbox.
Well, there are games where it works natively now, but then there's games like The Witcher 3 that will change the button prompts depending on which controller you have plugged in.
Really?
Yeah. If you play The Witcher 3, you plug in your PS4 controller, no third-party programs whatsoever. It'll just immediately start working. All the button prompts are correct. Very cool. It's totally
cool.
on developers.
Did that. I've literally never seen it. I mean, I've never used a PS4 controller with a PC, but like I just assumed, why wouldn't you just make Xbox prompts when 90% of your people do use the Xbox, or at least know what those buttons correspond to? But yeah, Forza's great. If you're thinking about getting it, wait for the tech issues to resolve. I was gonna do that, and then I wanted it real bad, and I took the risk, and I think it was worth it because my tech issues aren't as bad as a lot of people's. The frame rate's my only real problem right now, and I feel like it's gonna get fixed. I hope. But yeah, those are the racing games I've been playing. I also played more Battlefield 4. I finally discovered how to change. I think I was talking about this last podcast, like the orange dots above your head ruining Battlefield. there's a game mode. There's actually 2 game modes, but one in particular that removes those dots, and it actually removes almost all the HUD elements, ammo, minimap, even the compass.
What's that mode called in Call of Duty? I'm pretty sure
Hardcore.
it's hardcore. It's also hardcore
Okay,
in
yeah.
Battlefield. All right.
And it makes the game completely different and way better, in my opinion. I would wish they kept the compass, and I actually would still like a mini map so I can tell where my teammates are. But it makes you focus on the game rather than like the map and shit. And the fact that you don't have a little orange dot above your head means that you can fucking play the game with some amount of stealth, or just even a little bit of strategy, like flanking and stuff, without just being zeroed in on as soon as you kill someone. So if you're gonna play Battlefield, play it on hardcore mode. There's also there's normal, hardcore, and classic. And I think classic keeps some of the HUD elements and like doesn't make your health lower, stuff like that. Like hardcore goes a little too far in my opinion, and unbalances the game a little bit. Classic sounds like it's perfect, but apparently nobody plays it, so stuck with hardcore. But yeah, Battlefield 4 is a good brainless shooter, fun thing. I do like that game. I'm gonna play more of it. It's just fun when you needed 30 minutes to relax, and it's super easy. I got Call of Duty on Xbox 360 when I used to play. If I wasn't in first place, I was super disappointed in myself. Like, your competition
Yeah.
is so low.
Yeah. That rings true.
Yeah. Every once in a while, you find someone who's really good, and they stomp you. But 98% of the time, you're in first place, and there's just no competition. Battlefield was the same way on the consoles. Although with Battlefield, if you're trying to care about your score, then like you're probably not having very much fun. Like you're supposed to, you're supposed to play this game according to me. You need to not care about your kill death ratio or your score or anything. Just play and have fun. But doing that, playing and having fun, not trying or anything, I've gotten in first place multiple times out of 64 players, which is crazy. It seems like, I guess everyone who plays most people who play Battlefield just don't even try that hard to like actually be good and like get a bunch of kills and sprint around the map. And so I think that makes the game more fun as a whole because people are fucking around a little more. And yeah, I like that game. It relies a lot on getting lucky with the server and community and everything, but it's good. Last thing, you might be wondering why I would bother to even bring this up on the podcast. I watched Zootopia, which is a movie for children.
Yeah. Did you
the
like the rabbit? There was a rabbit in it. Wow, what a cute
huge crush.
What
I
a
have huge
cute,
crush on the rabbit.
adorable, fuckable bunny.
I have a huge crush on the bunny. No, the only reason I bring it up, and hear me out on this, Zootopia straight up stole the plot of the newest Deus Ex games, specifically the Deus Ex Human Revolution, but carrying on to Mankind Divided. Let me tell
Really?
you know the plot to Human Revolution. You've played it.
Yeah.
I don't know if you played all the way through it, but you know.
I know what's up. Yeah.
You know what's up. Here's Zootopia's plot. You have 2 social classes of animals. You have predators and prey, and they're living together. But it's a little bit strained because the prey, although they're the minority, like 10% of the population, are physically intimidating and stronger, able to overpower the prey, and the prey are distrustful of the predators as a result. But they live together harmoniously. There's a little bit of discontent and whatnot, but for the most part, they're fine. Well, suddenly, predators start going crazy and attacking the prey. They go back to their savage states and they attack the prey, and suddenly, and the media catches a hold of this story and says, "Oh my God, the prey are going crazy. They're killing us. We need to drive them out of the city, and make this a prey only world." Well,
very subtle.
The bunny character uncovers a conspiracy. the one of the leaders,
God, her intelligence is her hottest quality.
One of the people in the government has developed a biochemical weapon that when forced upon the prey through a dart gun, causes them to go insane and attack the predators to go insane and attack the prey. And they did it specifically so that they could gain power through the fear created by the prey turning against the predators turning against the prey, and the prey deciding no more predators. It is literally the plot to Deus Ex if you just exchange predators with augmented people and the prey with everyone else. I was sitting there watching it like that's not like a common plot. Like Deus Ex is the only game I know of, or anything that I know of that has used that particular plot. But it straight up stole it. I swear, the writers.
It's, you know what?
Deus Ex.
That's not impossible.
And yeah,
it's not impossible.
They're just fucking deal with it. You know what I mean? But yeah, it's the same fucking plot. It's crazy. It's crazy. And they uncover the conspiracy, and everyone lives happily ever after, which is not so much like Deus Ex, but it's a children's movie. But it's especially the part where the media gets involved and starts like trumping up the story and saying like, oh, the predators can't be trusted, and we need to drive the predators out. And it's like, oh my god, it's Deus Ex. Anyway, what have you been doing this week?
Well, last week I lied to the good people. I put NieR in the title of the podcast and lied to the good people and didn't mention it at all, which is kind of impressive. Anyway.
I guess you hadn't played it at that point, had you?
That's true. No. I had just recently seen the trailer.
What were you going to say about it?
I don't know. Good point. So maybe my failure was coincidentally a good thing. Anyway, I watched a trailer for a game called NieR Automata. And it's some of the coolest gameplay I've ever seen. I am so excited. I didn't even care about this game, but now it is the only thing on my radar besides like The Last Guardian, or there's one other game that's supposed to come out by like December, but I can't even remember what it is right now. So yeah, it's on the short list, baby. And so the gameplay trailer, just look it up if you haven't seen it. It's E3 boss battle NieR Automata. So watch that. Really, really cool. So I figured, hey, wow, Platinum Games, it looks like they're making a really cool game here. I'll play the first one. The first one's probably not as good, but I'll give it a shot. Well, it turns out that they're not made by Platinum Games. The only one made by Platinum, NieR itself is a spin-off of the Drakengard series, and only NieR Automata is made by Platinum. The rest is some other company. And it really, really shows, because the story is actually surprisingly good. That's what took me off guard, is how interesting the story was. But what also, unfortunately, took me off guard is just how much of an unpolished, weird turd with nuggets of gold in it NieR itself is. So NieR is a PS3 game. I'm playing it on PS3. And, God, it looked bad for its time. It looks like a PS2 game, honestly, and it looks like a bad-looking PS2 game. But it's still got that like PS3 era, just smear bloom all over everything, and just God, the visuals are disgusting.
I know exactly what
so
kind of visuals.
Bad. Yeah. It's like at times it looks like a Dreamcast game, honestly, and God, it's so like stiff in weird ways that just, and some of the music loops are too short, even though they're pretty good. I don't know. There's just a lot of baffling things in that game. Like, for example, there was this dungeon thing I was going through called the Junk Heap, and it is, at first, I'd been in the overworld for a long time, so it was that same loop was really grating on me, like genuinely getting on my nerves, and I'm not that far into the game. And I go into this dungeon, and I immediately am... I stop because the music has changed. It's now like this techno-industrial, there's like hammers pounding against anvils in the back of the soundtrack, and there was no suggestion that there would be anything futuristic at all in the game up to this point. So you go in from this like medieval plains, and then you just go further back into like this cave that seems to be a factory from like a long, long time ago that's still working somehow. And
Neat.
it's like, whoa, cool. You say that, but then it's this endless labyrinth of identical looking rooms and hallways
Yeah.
that are nearly impossible to navigate. It's
Sounds like Morrowind.
genuinely hell. But then, just when you think you're in hell, you get on a little minecart in the factory, and then the camera pulls up above you, and it becomes like this arcade bullet hell kind of thing where you're like using your book that shoots bullets essentially to like Geometry Wars style shoot a whole bunch of incoming projectiles and enemies. Like there's just these flashes of creativity that are
Yeah.
genuinely great and really interesting. And the story itself, it's you start in like modern times. It's snowy, something clearly bad is happening, but it's like modern day Tokyo or a city or whatever. And you fight a bunch of demon things, and you level up like 80 times in one fight sequence, and you fight a little boss, and then your daughter gets sick, and it fades to black. Then text shows up 1,132 years later, and then you're still your dad. You're the dad, and your daughter's still sick. But now you're in like this cottage in an idyllic medieval village, and you're level 1, and nothing is
Okay.
explained whatsoever. And in this perfect little ideal medieval village that would seem like ripped straight out of Morrowind or something, just like a kind of plain. I know Morrowind has exotic locations, but just think of like a vanilla medieval town. And then there's
Skyrim.
like once in a while, yeah, a Skyrim town. Now just imagine if in this Skyrim town there were like street lights that were all broken, but just like once in a while, and just it clearly is happening years and years after, and it's a mystery and it's a fun one to break open. There's all kinds of cool campy Japanese magic garbage going around. There's a girl who
Okay.
for some reason like Quiet has to wear scantily revealing
Of
clothing.
course.
Yes, you will regret your words and deeds. Indeed. But
Uh,
yeah, but sometimes even the combat that's stiff when you're fighting mobs, which is what you're doing 90% of the time, it becomes something so much better when you're fighting a boss. Like the boss encounters are so well designed and they feel great to actually play. The gameplay is almost as fun as it looks in the Automata trailer in some of the boss fights, but
Yeah.
still never quite. What were you gonna say?
Well, Platinum, their main game that they're like focusing on is that dragon one for the
Scalebound,
Xbox.
yeah, yeah. Well,
Scalebound.
that's what they have Kamiya on, but
Yeah, it seems like that's their focus.
that looks like a piece of
That's what's
garbage to
being
me.
marketed and everything. It had the worst E3 showing. It was completely uninteresting and boring looking. And Nier Automata looked fantastic. That boss fight you showed me is really neat. The animation
Oh
looks
yeah,
really really good. I
yeah.
don't know, was that video 60 frames per second?
Yes,
'Cause
it is,
yeah, and the
and it's gonna
animation
run at
is, and
60 FPS on console too.
it just it feels like that. Like a lot of times, 60 frames per second just feels right. It just like okay, this feels good, but it's like how it should feel. This like you notice the smoothness of everything because the boss is like animated in this like flowy but still robotic way that was very impressive. And yeah, it looks like a lot of fun. And I think about how much fun Metal Gear Revengeance was,
Yeah,
and like
definitely.
I want to play a game like that. So yeah, it definitely catches my eye a little bit. I'm usually not into those kinds of games, but Platinum has a track record of making those kinds of games and making them very well.
Absolutely. And I think it interests me more than Bayonetta. Automata does.
Yeah, I never played Bayonetta, but I mean, it did look fun. But
Bayonetta's
just
fun,
never.
but it's more of like a traditional hack and slash. It's like about
Yeah.
combos and things like that. Nier is pretty straightforward in the buttons you have to press. I'm assuming it's going to kind of work like the first one. It's basically simple in the buttons that you press, but you have lots of movement options, and enemies shoot lots of projectiles that you can dodge or shoot through or attack through. And yeah, so there's a lot of activity in the movement of the fight rather than just like grinding out the combos that you need or the techniques. So I don't know. That's always kind of interested me more than like a raw hack and slash.
Yeah, that boss fight, it was like a combination of like really, really well-worn territory, but throwing it all in together at once.
Yeah,
Like I
it had
was
a very
like it started doing
diverse
it
moveset.
started shooting out the lasers and spinning around, and you have to jump over the lasers. And I was like, is this like Banjo Kazooie or something? And then it like goes to the top down, and it turns into bullet hell. And yeah, there's just it seems really interesting that they just threw a bunch of shit at the wall, and it seems like it stuck.
The best part for me is the three-dimensional bullet hell, where they're kind of like
Yeah,
the bullets are
like you have
flailing
to
out
worry
like
about
squid arms, and then you weave in between them. That is so cool.
movement looks interesting. I don't really know what's going on with it. Like
It
there's a
doesn't
lot. It
work like
seems like
that
there's
in
a lot of
the
different like
original.
abilities with movement. Yeah, seems cool.
Yeah, I'm excited
Japanese
for that.
games.
Yes. So that's cool. I also started watching a dumb anime called Bakemonogatari. And not much to say, really. It's kind of got its head up its ass. But it's directed in a really interesting way. Like, animated well. Very interesting style. So that's basically what's got me going. Yeah, but nothing really to report on that front. So, yeah, that's
all you
about.
got?
Oh no, I also started playing Castlevania on the DS, like one of the Castlevania DS games called Order of Ecclesia, I think. I'm not very far, but that's like the last one of those Symphony of the Night type games that they made.
Yeah,
And a lot of people consider it
they should make
like
more of those.
the best or the most polished of them all. So I'm really enjoying it. It's a cool game, and I really grew up on those games. The Dawn of Sorrow and Portia Ruin. I must have played those for hundreds and hundreds of hours, like when I was 10 or so.
I got Symphony of the Night when I was really young, and I played like 5 minutes of it and was like, I clearly don't want to play this game.
I think
But
being portable
now I
might
look
have
back
helped
and
it for me.
yeah, probably. I don't remember. I might have had it on a what was the portable? What it might have been. Was that a Game Boy Advance? Could it have come out on that? I don't remember. But
Well, there
I
was
feel
like a
that was
flip Game
portable
Boy
at the time.
also.
Yeah,
There
I
was a
didn't have
Game
that
Boy
one.
Advance one.
I did have the Advance though. I think I had the Game Boy Advance one, and I think it was Symphony of the Night. Did that come out on a Game Boy Advance?
I don't think so, but there was one almost exactly like it. I mean, they all are
Yeah.
that style. They're basically
they look
remakes
very
of
similar and
Symphony of the
everything.
Night with twists.
But yeah, I feel like I would have had a lot of fun with it if I just gave. There's a lot of games where like I put them down so quickly, and I could have had a ton of like Command and Conquer. I never would have played because I played like 5 minutes of it. I couldn't figure it out. I couldn't begin to figure it out. It was way too complicated. I wasn't used to that level of depth in games. And I had a friend come over after like 2 months of having this game and only playing 5 minutes of it and deciding I was never going to play it again. I had a friend come over who was just determined to play it after they saw the cover or whatever. And they got really into it, and they got me really into it, and it became one of my favorite games. And as a kid, like you're just so quick to. I was so quick to just dismiss stuff because I didn't want to sit there and figure it out.
Yeah.
I missed out on a lot.
Yeah,
But-
same. I kind of regret missing out on Metal Gear. Like, one of my friends
too.
was really into Metal Gear, and I never really paid it much
I don't
mind.
know though. I don't know if I would have appreciated it at all, really, at that point. I mean, Metal Gear Solid 1, if you played that at the time, I can imagine that was a hell of an experience because that game was doing stuff that no other game was doing. I mean, that's a really amazingly well put together experience for
And-
PS1.
You know what? For all of the shit I gave Metal Gear Solid 5, we gave Metal Gear Solid 5 also, you know, I kind of wonder. Like, Rocco of Mega 64, he really likes Metal Gear Solid 5, and he thinks the ending was good. I disagree.
Well, he likes Lost.
He does like Lost. But it's
whole
not just
thing-
because it's him. He seemed to have an appreciation for the just talking to the player and just forgetting about everything else. He was able to like that and push everything else aside. And I think I could kind of maybe understand where he's coming from if I had like started at Metal Gear 1 or 2 like he did and played it my entire life. And then, you know, it would have felt
would that be-
different,
I don't know.
maybe.
That would have felt
I
more-
still
that
don't
would have
think
felt
it'd be
more
good.
disappointing to me.
I think so too. But I also think we don't really know what it's like to have been with Metal Gear the
You're right.
entire time.
We don't. But
I think
I
it would
remember
still
thinking
be
though
bad.
at the end of Metal Gear Solid 5, I remember thinking, holy shit, if it's been this way, if I've been with Metal Gear Solid all my life and this is the end to it, I would be so let down. Like that's so
And I know
anticlimactic.
some people are like that too. Like,
Yeah,
your best
I
friend
can't
Carlos.
imagine. I can't imagine liking that story or even tolerating it. But I tolerate that. I mean, I still think
We're big boys.
I still think if you include the story and everything in that game's overall, like if I was giving that game a numerical review, and I was basing it even in comparison to its predecessors in the context of everything and how its story was super disappointing, that game's still like a 9 out of 10. That game was fucking incredible and I had so much fun with it. It's one of the best games I've ever played. It's just the story is the biggest letdown of the century.
Yeah.
But that game was fucking amazing. It was great. I kind of want to go back and play it, but I'm not going to.
The pain is still there.
Yeah, it's a phantom pain.
It was all intentional. He intentionally made a bad game.
That. Yeah.
It's
there were
true.
People arguing that like it's supposed to be this like gut punch of like, oh god, that didn't satisfy me at all. But I don't.
I'm really moved and upset that this game is such a piece of garbage that. Wow.
That's art right
really
there.
Touching me, right
That's
in my
art.
ass. God, please stop. Don't make any more Metal Gears. Yeah, he needed to be done. He was burnt out. I think
he was done
burnt
with that
out.
game like halfway through Metal Gear Solid 2.
But he still managed to keep it going.
Yeah, but there's quotes after Metal Gear Solid 2 from him where he's just like, yeah, I'm not going to make any more of those games and fuck that. And then he did.
Yep.
And thankfully he did because Metal Gear Solid 3 was the best Metal Gear Solid game. All right. We've talked. That's well-worn territory right there.
Yes, it is. I think we might have devoted over 4 hours of podcast time together.
Probably.
On just that.
3 weeks there where we were just talking about Metal Gear
We were
Solid.
just reeling.
Yeah. I mean, for a couple weeks we were really excited and we were saying, the story's not what I want it to be, but you know, it's still okay. And then when the story literally didn't lead anywhere and just was a huge letdown, then we had a lot of talking to do about that.
Okay. Well, I think we should move on.
To news?
Yes.
You've already talked about Halo 5 multiplayer.
I have.
Kotaku, UK.
Very good website.
Apparently better than Kotaku.com. Regardless, they had an article, a long article about, I think it was titled like the troubled development of Star Citizen or something like that. It had interviews with a bunch of different developers and stuff about Star Citizen and the way that it's expanded so quickly, and they've been trying to. It's just about trying to make that game and live up to the expectations of what's his name, the lead on the project, the Chris Roberts.
Yep,
that's his name.
Chris Roberts.
Which that guy loves to make a promise out of nowhere with no explanation of how he's actually going to deliver on it, and then apparently he just tells his teams like, "You can do it, right? Come on, do it." And I was reading comments and stuff about this article, people talking about it, and they kept saying, well, you know, this is standard game development stuff, and I was expecting this article to be a hit piece, but it's not really a hit piece. It's just you know, this hasn't changed my opinion of Star Citizen at all. I don't think that this is it doesn't look like there's anything problematic going on, and I couldn't disagree more. I think that this reinforces everything I already thought about Star Citizen, which is that it's this complete jumbled mess that they're trying to just dump into a pot and make it work. And you've got teams all over the world. Some of them are just like third-party contractors that aren't involved with the company at all. They're just being paid to make assets and stuff. And they're all trying to make stuff to put into the same persistent universe. How the fuck can you do that? And I don't want to talk at length about Star Citizen because that's another well-worn territory thing. But this article was really interesting, and I do recommend people read it. And
I'm skimming it. It seems to be pretty packed with information.
It is. The interviews go in depth about like very specific cases and stuff of stuff that like they built that FPS module where it had like the cringiest fucking
Tango on your 6.
Where they were playing it and the crowd kept reacting to it as if it was the best thing ever, and it just looked like this horrible generic janky FPS, and they scrapped it completely. And I guess they're making another one now, and I guess they intend for it not to be this like separate system where you go into a game. It's going to be like you're in space, you're driving around your spacecraft, and you eject from it or whatever, and you float over to another one, and you can then fight people with your guns without ever going through loading screens or anything like that. I don't believe it, or if they do deliver on it, I don't believe it'll be any good. But that's what they're saying they can do. I
can't wait for that game to come out.
If it ever comes out.
Well, assuming that it's within our lifetime, that'll be a good day to watch, or at least like kind of schadenfreude a satisfying way.
I think what's going to end up happening is it's going to very slowly be released, piece by piece. Early access creep.
That would be so much less fun to watch.
But I think that's what's going to happen because that's what usually happens with these kinds of games. And promises that they make now, 4 years from now, you're going to have a really, really tiny minority of people complaining that they never delivered on their promises, but most people are going to completely forget that those promises were ever made, and they're going to
forget about the game. They'll forget about the game. Most people will not be playing Star Citizen in 4 years because it won't have come out yet. But then in 8 years after that, people won't be playing it.
But if they are, they won't care if there's features and stuff that aren't in game or if the game's a janky piece of shit, because people get used to that and it just becomes the new normal. And they accept it, and that's how you fucking sell an early access game to people. Is you fucking tell them, "Oh, we're gonna make this better," and then you don't make it better, but they're used to the way it is anyway, and so they keep playing it. The DayZ style of development. I don't know. There's still a lot of people playing DayZ, and that game is.
Are there really a lot?
Yeah, I think so. I think there's a lot of people still playing it. And that game to me like represents a small version of what Star Citizen is, where it was like when they first started making it a standalone thing, they were making all these promises about what it would be, and they tried to dump it all in the game, and it was a mess. And then they kind of slowly stopped supporting it very much. And as far as I know, that game has very little support and updates. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know, but I know that game is like a classic example of early access hell,
Early access is a problem.
It's a huge problem. It's really bad. And that Ark game that we talked about a week or two ago,
Survival Evolved.
Yeah, where it's early access and they've already come out with an expansion pack, and people are saying, well, you haven't fixed all these issues that you talked about like back when early access first started, and it doesn't look like you're going to fix them. But there's still, right now. Let's check Steam real quick, just to see where it's at. Ark Survival Evolved is... no, wait, that's not the top seller list. Okay, yeah, it's not on the top seller list. It's not on the top 10. But...
I missed the boat on that.
It's about a dozen down. I missed the boat on it too. I don't even really know what that game is.
I think it's Unreal Engine 4. That's about all I know. It's a dinosaur game with Unreal Engine 4.
It's selling better than the pre-order for Civ 6 right now. So
okay, I don't know what to take away from that exactly.
Point is that thing has been consistently selling, and people have been consistently playing it, even though it's a piece of shit that will never be. It'll never turn into what they initially promised with that game, which I don't really know exactly what that was, but I've seen the complaints from people who play it, and boy, what a mess. All right. I've only got one other piece of news. Do you have anything?
No.
My other piece of news is really insignificant, but I thought it was hilarious.
Yes. This is okay. This is the story of the week, ladies and gents. This is where the hard-hitting journalism that you've come to expect from us.
Palmer Luckey has funded a very small organization.
Make sure you say internet billionaire Palmer Luckey.
Internet billionaire Palmer Luckey, Facebook employee Palmer Luckey, apparently founded a small group or helped found a small group based on the subreddit, I guess the Donald or something like that, one of the Donald Trump subreddits, and gave it about $10,000 to fund the creation of Trump memes that criticize Hillary, specifically, perhaps also Pepe memes, which have become apparently the mascot of the alt-right.
Yeah, I saw today that Pepe made the Anti-Defamation League's list of racist symbols. Like, seriously, it's on there now, for being associated with white power and stuff. I'm not kidding.
I know you're. That's why I'm laughing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a. Yep. And so people are calling Palmer Luckey racist and stuff, and they want Facebook to fire him. And I haven't seen anything come out of that. I think they're just going to stay quiet about it because people will stop.
Of course,
actually, people have already stopped talking about it because I almost forgot to put it on the list, even though it was probably the funniest thing to happen this week.
Yeah, come on. It's one. It has to be in fun. He's not like donating to a super PAC here.
He donated $10,000, which to him is literally pennies. Like,
yeah, to a meme machine. He put his cash in the meme machine, and then made memes.
There's no evidence. There's no evidence that the memes he was apparently funding have any racism or sexism or whatever, or Pepe in them at all. But yeah, sure, he's a racist, and Facebook should fire him. And he needs to. People were saying they're going to not buy a Rift because of this.
I'm not ever going to use Facebook again.
Yeah, well, you shouldn't use Facebook. If you want to be mad at Oculus, you should have gotten mad when they partnered with Facebook, which is way more evil than Trump memes. Facebook is like legit scary 1984 shit. Trump memes are Trump memes. But anyway, he did that. I think it's funny. He's also dating a Gamergate girlfriend, and this article came out that.
Did you just say a Gamergate girlfriend?
A Gamergate girlfriend, yeah. You don't have one of those? He has a Gamergate girlfriend, and a journalist somewhere decided that that was news and that they should release all the information they can about it.
Well, it's good that they got on the case and cracked that mystery wide open. That way, like
right before the debates too. I mean, it really changed the tone of the debates a lot, I think.
Yeah, because if I'm walking down the street and I see some girl, it's like, how do I know she's not in that whole Gamergate situation?
Gamergater. They need to be identified and lined up on the wall and shot.
Pow,
anyway,
pow,
that's
pow, pow, pow.
Podcast.
Blam, 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 blam.
That's
it is a podcast.
Video games.
Good night.